You don't have a problem in Russia. We have, you don't have. You might have. You still have. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the president with us.
So the fact that Trump called Putin first and not Zelensky means that Zelensky won't have had the opportunity to impress on Trump his key positions and views and perspectives on how any potential discussions of a ceasefire might unfold or unroll. And that's obviously significant because essentially it means that Ukraine is being cut out of the discussion, and Putin and Trump are speaking directly to each other without taking Ukraine's position into account.
No, we had a great call, and it lasted for a long time, over an hour this morning. I also had with President Zelensky a very good call after that. And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
Дуже предметні перемовини зі Сполученими Штатами Америки. Була розмова з президентом Трампом, хороша розмова, детальна. Я вдячний президенту за щирий інтерес до наших спільних можливостей, до того, як ми можемо разом наблизити справжній мир. Тривала розмова, ми обговорили багато нюансів дипломатичних, військових, економічних, і президент Трамп поінформував мене про те, що йому сказав Путін. Віримо, що сили Америки достатньо, щоб разом з нами, разом з усіма партнерами дотиснути Росію і Путіна до миру.
This was only the first initial conversation. The fact that Trump seemingly gave everything away and Putin got everything he wanted is not a good sign for things to come. The other question, of course, is what does this actually look like? And that's where I think the distinction between a ceasefire and a peace deal is important, because a ceasefire means that Ukraine could hold on to its territorial integrity, whereas a peace deal on current lines would mean along the current front lines would mean ceding significant amounts of territory to Russia. Trump did say that that's something that would have to be considered. Hegseth very much echoed those comments at the defense ministerial meeting. We're not seeing Europeans move quick enough in terms of coming up with ideas of how they can actually help secure Ukraine's future and actually putting things on the table that would appeal to Trump to, on the one hand, keep the US engaged in European security, because, of course, the added dimension to all of this is nuclear. Russia is a nuclear-armed state, and Europe is dependent on the US for its nuclear security umbrella. Now, so far, there hasn't been any talk of taking that off the table, so that's positive. But certainly quite a few European countries see continued US engagement in Europe as absolutely essential, in part because of that. In part what we have seen develop over the past few months, and I think will only accelerate because of this, is very much a coalition of the willing in Europe, of countries who are willing to take the lead on this and feel that Europe's and their own national interests and national security is directly threatened by current developments, and will therefore take a more active lead and role on this, the UK being one of them, but the Baltic states and the Nordic states very much as well. I mean, obviously, it makes the conversations that will take place at the Munich Security Conference all the more pressing and important. And I would see lots of those coalition of the willing negotiations and talks initiating at MSC over the weekend, because everyone will be there, as well as really lots of Europeans talking to their American counterparts who will still be there, trying to impress on them the urgency and importance of bringing Ukraine and other Europeans into the conversation.
We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again. This must not be Minsk 3.0. That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement.
Our understanding is that Zelensky is potentially open to having initial negotiations. Some of the lines are softening a little bit as well, but for Putin, that hasn't softened. And some of the things that he wants to get out of it, for example, removing troops or US troops out of Eastern Europe, would really be significant, not just for Ukraine, but for Europe as a whole. Whether Putin gets a favorable ceasefire or peace deal on his terms, or whether he just keeps grinding them down over time, I'm not sure he really minds that much, unless, of course, something significant changes in Russia itself. But at the moment, there aren't really clear indications that that would happen over the short term, at least. I could imagine that they might feel sold out by the US, and that so the past 24 hours have really been quite depressing for Ukrainian partners. But that's why, again, the European role and what really thinking through what else the European allies can do to support that is so, so important.
Çekeceksin.